caused by mutual misunderstanding and the absence of neutral and objective intermediaries. United Villages, in collaboration with Italia di Cambia APS and Cap Liberté de Conscience, is honored to co-host today's event titled Rights of Vulnerable Person in the Middle East and Asia. The Indo-Mediterranean refers to the region connecting the Mediterranean Sea and the Indian Ocean and includes West and South Asia. Recent conflicts in the Middle East and Europe have drawn attention away from the most vulnerable population in this region, including minorities, women, children, in countries such as Bangladesh, Afghanistan, Iran, Syria, and Yemen. Today's panel seeks to bring these groups back into focus by addressing the challenges they face. The event will explore the ongoing struggles of these vulnerable populations while fostering dialogue on the implication of political changes for human rights in the Indo-Mediterranean region. To delve deeper into this issue, it is my pleasure to introduce Mr. Bas Chenoy, who will moderate this event. Bas Chenoy is a journalist, entrepreneur, and the president of Local Cities, a non-profit organization working in areas of conflict and post-conflict in the Middle East, Africa, and Asia. Please, Mr. Bas Chenoy, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, Elisa. And thank you all for making it today. I particularly understand that getting in was not easy, so thank you for your patience again. The Indo-Mediterranean has come into great news recently, specifically because of conflicts that have caused sincere regime change in the region. However, the region has not been a stranger to conflict. We call the region the Indo-Mediterranean, which is the cradle of all four major modern religions, which stretches from Italy right up to the coasts of India. The conflicts today are directly related to radicalization, be it in Bangladesh, where a recent regime change has replaced the elected leader, be it the gruesome Assad regime in Syria, which was replaced by what several people have worried about is an equally gruesome alternative. We are living in a very interesting time of geopolitical flux. We gathered here today to focus on the vulnerable groups, women, children, and ethnic as well as religious minorities in this region, which are affected by regime change and by radicalization of people. That said, I invite today our first panelist, Senator Marco Dreosto, who's a senator of the Italian Republic, to say a few words. Senator.
Grazie molto. Thank you very much for your invite. I'm very happy to be here. It's okay. It's okay? Okay. Thank you very much, Bas, for your invite. I'm very happy to be here. I'm Marco Dreosto, I'm a senator in Italy. I was in 2019 member of the European Parliament. I think that this topic is very important, and as possible, I prefer to speak Italian.
And I will translate.
Okay, thank you very much. Come dicevo, è davvero un onore per me essere qui oggi a parlare e discutere di diritti umani, tutela delle persone più vulnerabili, in particolare in Medio Oriente e in Asia. Aggiungo tra l'altro che troppe volte pratiche che riteniamo oppressive, radicate in alcuni contesti, vengono esportate anche purtroppo nei nostri paesi che evidentemente sono più occidentali, in particolare in Europa, non di meno in Italia.
It is my honor to be here to speak today about human rights and specifically about the protection of the most vulnerable people in Middle East and Asia. I'd like to add that several times oppressive practices which are based in other places are often exported and adopted even in our countries in Europe in a way that I will be able to explain successively, eventually leading to the violation of human rights of people that we should protect.
Ecco, uno dei temi che davvero non posso non citare e che mi sta particolarmente a cuore è quello evidentemente sicuramente dei diritti umani, ma di quelli che vengono limitati nei confronti dei cristiani, particolarmente perseguitati in Medio Oriente e in altri paesi che evidentemente hanno maggioranza con fondamentalismo islamico. E voglio portarvi solo 2 dati, poi ti faccio tradurre Vas. In Iraq la comunità cristiana è passata da 1,5 milioni di persone prima del 2003 a meno di 150.000 nell'estate del 2019, con una diminuzione del 90%. In Siria il numero di cristiani è sceso da 1,5 milioni del 2011 a meno di 500.000 del 2017. E anche adesso la comunità internazionale non può, secondo me, e non deve girarsi dall'altra parte ignorando quelle che sono evidentemente delle persecuzioni testimoniate anche dai numeri.
I'll briefly synthesize what the Senator said. I would like to first of all start with something that I have personal experience with that is very close to my heart. When we talk about human rights, however, when we see this up front, really, for example, the persecution of Christians in the Middle East or in other places where there is Islamic fundamentalism eradicated. For example, in Iraq, the Christian community has passed from around 1.5 million people to before 2003 to less than 150,000 people in the summer of 2019, a reduction of approximately 90%.
E poi come non dimenticare il caso per esempio della giovane Asia Bibi in Pakistan, di cui abbiamo sentito tanto parlare, di cui ci siamo anche occupati e come anche parlamentari particolarmente italiani, particolarmente attivati. Allora c'è da sottolineare come queste comunità affrontano evidentemente delle violenze e una distruzione che poi si manifesta anche in quelli che sono i simboli, come ad esempio le chiese, con una discriminazione che è assolutamente sistematica. Voglio dire anche un'altra cosa importante, non esistono solo i simboli, non esiste solo la preghiera, ma quanti cristiani è proprio impedito ad esempio di leggere o trasportare la Bibbia o addirittura mettere addosso il crocifisso.
How did we forget about the case of the young Asia Bibi in Pakistan? I'd just like to underline, these are my words and not the Senator's, that because the Senator as well as Honorable Grupioni are both parliamentarians from Italy, they've been particularly involved in the case of Asia Bibi and getting her out of Pakistan over the period of time. So for them, this is a very personal case, as the Senator mentioned. Apart from this, Christians in the world, specifically in a lot of these countries, are not only not allowed to read the Bible, but also not allowed to use symbols, personal symbols of demonstration of their faith.
Già fatto questo passaggio. E poi vorrei passare un attimo anche alla situazione di casa nostra, perché se è vero che queste cose succedono e accadono in posti del mondo, molti posti del mondo, poi la violazione alcune volte di quelli che sono i diritti umani e la loro messa diciamo in difficoltà non passa molto lontano dal nostro territorio, e quindi non posso ignorare quello che accade in Italia oggi. Per esempio nella mia regione, io vengo dalla Friuli Venezia Giulia, una piccola regione al nord-est dell'Italia, dove in particolare in 2 città che sono Monfalcone e Pordenone, diverse bambine tra 11 e 12 anni appartenenti evidentemente a famiglie, in questo caso di origine bengalese, fortemente radicalizzate nell'Islam, sono state costrette, quindi obbligate ad andare a scuola con il volto completamente coperto.
For example, coming back to home, I am from Friuli Venezia Giulia, that is my region, and there are 2 cities, Monfalcone and Pordenone, and several young girls of 11, 12 years who belong to Bangladeshi origin families, which are extremely orthodox and radical, are obliged to go to school with their face completely covered.
Ecco, la cosa che noi sottolineiamo, che voglio sottolineare, è che queste imposizioni, questi obblighi, dettati evidentemente da una visione estremista, quindi parliamo di una parte di quell'Islam, in questo caso più radicale, non solo è incompatibile con i principi di libertà e di uguaglianza, e non solo limita quelli che sono i diritti fondamentali di ogni essere umano, ma rappresentano anche un vero e proprio ostacolo, in particolare sui giovani, per quello che è il percorso educativo e quello che ci sta più a cuore, che è la loro integrazione nella nostra società.
Let me be clear here, this imposition, which is from a very extremist and very radicalized version of Islam, so it is not necessary that all Muslims have this position, but there is a small or whatever size community that believes in this, limits fundamental human rights to women, to children, to vulnerable groups, and this creates an obstacle to also what we would like, which is integration, which is a pathway of education and their integration into society.
Quindi per noi è inaccettabile che in Occidente, in Europa, in Italia ci siano delle bambine, dei giovani che vengano sottoposti evidentemente a queste pressioni, a queste costrizioni, e che ledono tra l'altro la loro autodeterminazione, rendendo poi necessario un intervento fermo da parte delle istituzioni per tutelare soprattutto i loro diritti e le loro libertà. Non possiamo accettare che nel nostro paese si affermino pratiche che evidentemente vanno contro questi principi per i quali oggi siamo qui a discutere.
It's unacceptable that in Italy young girls of this age are put under pressure and constriction, which also take away their right to choose, making it necessary for all institutions to intervene to protect their rights and their liberty. We cannot accept that in our country such practices which negate the principles of equality and dignity coexist.
Grazie. Chiudiamo. Vado a sintetizzare dicendo solamente che evidentemente non basta denunciare, ma bisogna anche agire. Per questo abbiamo presentato anche una proposta di legge al governo italiano per cercare appunto di limitare per esempio l'uso del velo integrale dove nei luoghi pubblici in particolare, ma dove può essere ostacolo sia alla sicurezza ma anche alla libertà delle persone. Questa proposta di legge andrà in Parlamento. Concludo perché il tempo mi sembra sia molto poco. La difesa, dicevo, di questi diritti deve essere chiaramente, a nostro avviso, universale. Non possiamo chiudere gli occhi quindi di fronte né alla persecuzione, per esempio, dei cristiani, ma neanche alle oppressioni delle donne, in particolare nei nostri territori dove viviamo noi. E dobbiamo denunciare, dobbiamo agire, dobbiamo garantire una libertà, una dignità di diritti che siano realmente umani per tutti. Questo è evidentemente, questo penso che lo condivida anche la collega, il dovere della politica, questo è il dovere di ogni nazione che si definisce democratica e rispettosa dei diritti umani.
I'll synthesize. It's essential not to just speak about these things, but also to act. And in this process of acting, we need to be sure that not only are we protecting religious freedoms of minorities, but we're also protecting human rights of women, children, and vulnerable groups. I've synthesized. Thank you, Senator, and thank you for coming. Thank you. I will now request Mr. Rahul Kumar, who is the City Parliament member of Frankfurt, Germany, to say a few words. Mr. Kumar.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear fellow speakers, my name is Rahul Kumar. I am born and brought up in Germany, and I am currently member of the City Parliament from Frankfurt in Germany. It's a great pleasure to talk to you and represent Frankfurt in Germany today to this special event at the UN House in Geneva. I would like to start with a short story. It's about Amina. She is 14 years old and she lives in a small village in Afghanistan. And her hobbies are to dream and to try, and she has a dream to become a doctor one day. So one day she wakes up and she has got the information that the school where she normally studied shut it down by some extremists. She's told that the girl don't need any education. A few months later, her parents were forced to marry her off to a much older man. Her dreams, her life, and also her vision is done, even before it started. Amina's story is not unique. It's a story of thousands of children, of women around the world. And it's a story of lost opportunities. It's a story of stolen childhood, where there is no future and even no dreams. One of the problems is radicalization. It's growing, and it's a growing danger for all of us. In the global world, it is a danger for all of us. It does not belong to any country. If I say Germany or any other country, or any cultural or any religious thing, even it don't belong to any skin color. But it's growing where people feel hopeless and where justice is missing. Where justice is missing and where fear is used as a weapon. That's a very important fact. In the past of Middle East and Asia, we see extremism trying to control the society. They're trying to control governments. Even they're trying to control social institutions and associations. Women are losing their rights, girls are being forced for not going to school, and children are being brainwashed. And they should join extreme activities and violent groups and activities. This is really a sad fact, which I have been seeing in the last few years when I'm traveling around the world, even in Asia, I have seen it. But radicalization is not far away. If I think I live in Germany, then I can say that even in Europe, in cities, international cities like Frankfurt, I can see the rise of extremism ideologies and activities, both from far right and from radical religious groups. The ideologies threaten our open societies, and our way of life is in danger. Mostly the first victim are women and children. When radicalization spreads women and children, they suffer at first, and sadly also the most. This is all unacceptable. We have heard this from the Senator. Every children deserve to go to school. Every women also deserve freedom. Every individual deserves to have a future without fear and hate. Actually, we all deserve to dream, and we have all the right for freedom. So the question for me is not what can we do, the question for me is what we have to do. We must invest in education, because education is the best weapon to protect. We must support schools and awareness programs that teach young people not to get in these activities and these violent activities and ideologies. We must support the democracy, not even in national level, also in the state and local level. Because if we support justice, and when there is no justice, extremism will grow. We must help building a strong, fair institution to protect human rights and democracy. And also working across the borders is a very important fact. Like we are sitting here today and talking about is human rights. So government, NGOs, and communities must work together, hand in hand, to get the best benefit. And also the protection of special groups like women, children, minorities, and also they need all special treatment and special care. We must provide safe spaces, legal protection, and strong action against them that try to abuse this kind of people. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a God-gifted choice. We can use it or we can lose it. But even we know it's a shared responsibility, not for me, for all of us. We can look away or we can act now. Every action is followed by a reaction. So together, I believe together we can build the strength of combined energy for the right way, in the right direction, and especially at the right point. That's very important. I come from Frankfurt. It's a million city, and it stands for diversity and freedom. But even there, we can see the danger is coming, and we must not wait until it's too late. Let's work together for a world where children isn't denied for education, no woman is forced into silence, and no child is used for violent activities. A world where we are stronger, where the hope is stronger than the hate. So, for me, it's very important that I'm ready to help children like Amina. And the most important question which we can take with us today is, are we ready together? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rahulji. From Frankfurt, I would like us to come back to Italy. We have with us Honorable Nike Cupioni, the member of the Italian Parliament, to whom I request to say a few words.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, honorable colleagues, dear organizers. It is with a deep respect and a strong sense of responsibility that I speak today at this important international gathering during an event that addresses one of the most pressing and tragic challenges of our time: the protection of vulnerable persons in the Middle East and Asia. I wish, first of all, to thank the organizers, Cap Liberté de Conscience, Italia che cambia PS, United Villages, and Global Cities for inviting me to take part in this meaningful space for reflection and testimony. The political transformations taking place across the Indo-Mediterranean region are having devastating consequences on millions of lives. Women, ethnic and religious minorities, children, and refugees are suffering from discrimination, violence, social exclusion, and the denial of fundamental rights. As a member of the Italian Parliament, I feel a profound responsibility to contribute both national and international to the development of policies for cooperation, protection, and the defense of human rights. In Afghanistan, we are witnessing to the return of a regime that has erased decades of civil progress for women in just a few months. In Iran, the repression of personal freedom brutally targets anyone who dares to raise their voice for liberty. In Syria and in Yemen, endless wars continue to devastate lives and communities. Yet amid such suffering, we also witness courage, dignity, and resistance. In the women fighting to study, in the young people protesting for freedom, in the religious leaders calling for dialogue instead of violence. As policymakers, we must not remain silent. We must strengthen international protection channels for those fleeing persecution. Work alongside NGOs and local actors to document and expose violations. ensure that respect for human rights is at the heart of every foreign economics and trade policy we adopt. The voice of European democratic institutions must be clear and firm. Human rights are not negotiable and must never be sacrificed for geopolitics or strategic interests. Let me end with a call to action. Let us never lose sight of the human beings behind the statistics. Every name, every face, every story deserves attention, respect, and protection. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
A resounding thanks to Honorable Guppioni, also for a call of action. Human rights should never be negotiable, and I completely agree. I would like to request our own Swiss Ahmadiyya politician, Mr. Anwar Mahmood Al-Rahman, to say a few words. Anwar.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, distinguished guests, and esteemed colleagues. If you say, first of all, if you say a few words, it means I have a limited time of this schedule. I can speak a lot on this topic if you tell me how long I can speak on it.
I'll go with Mark Twain and say 5 minutes, but...
Okay. You see all the papers I have in front of me. Anyway, I will conclude in 5 minutes. So thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to speak on my own story. So it's not something else that I'm talking about. I'm talking about my story, why I left that country where I born. What was the reason behind? The reason behind was no peace, no justice, and no future. So I came in this beautiful country, Switzerland. So Switzerland gave me the opportunity to campaign as a politician in a political party. So I'm representing also a political party, Liberal Democratic Party here in Switzerland. So I'm proud of this. So my story, I'm coming back to my story. It is exactly 40 years back. It was March 15. So when my father was murdered because of his faith. So I belong to the Ahmadiyya community. It's a very peaceful community in the world, very educated community, but we are persecuted in Pakistan through our belief. And I go back in the ordinance in the constitution. It was 1974 that Ahmadiyya Muslim community was declared as a non-Muslim by the Pakistani government, and it's a crime for the Ahmadi Muslim to pose as a Muslim. If I call myself as a Muslim, I will put in the jail. And for decades, there have been, due to violent persecutions, state-sponsored discriminations, and the social exclusion. And however, there's about being marginalized, this is about being criminalized for their belief. And went worse after the ordinance in 1984. It is the ordinance called 295C. Further provided Pakistani clerics with a weapon against the Ahmadis, which is still being used against the Ahmadis, and the irony is that government institutions are still under pressure from the clerics. In outlawed any Ahmadi posing as a Muslim, persecution in all parts of aspects of everyday life, insofar as in 2014, an Ahmadi doctor who was a US citizen was facing charges in Pakistan and was shot dead in the court, language inside the courtroom. After these constitutional amendments, even in 1984, now I'm talking about in 85, when I was a young student, and my father, he was a doctor, he was a servant of humanity, when he was shot dead in front of my eyes. then I was an eyewitness of this incident. I had to leave my country because they said indirectly that they would kill me also. I escaped a couple of months in Pakistan and I took the flight, I came to Switzerland. So this is my story. And this, our speaker before, he was talking about the education. I faced this persecution and discrimination in my school. Even the cup of water was a separate for me because I belong to Ahmadiyya community. No one has to use this one because I was like, leave him on the side. So this kind of discriminations I have faced when I was a young student. And then there are many incidents. Today I have received this email that in this holy month of Ramadan, 7 incidents are happened in Pakistan. And the series of attacks reflects a deeply troubling and coordinated campaign targeting Ahmadis during the month of Ramadan. So I go through just quickly. In Daska, 28th of February 2025, 22 Ahmadis were arrested for offering a Friday prayers, including a 14-year-old boy. And the accused, they had the first bail plea rejected by the magistrate court. And then in Sargodha district, 28th of February, authorities, why I'm calling the state-backed persecution, register a case against 23 Ahmadis for offering the Friday prayer. It is a peaceful prayer inside their worship place, although none are currently, the extremist groups organize a sit-in demanding the closure of the community's place of worship. They closed that place. And also in Karachi, the big city in Karachi, 7th March 2025, authorities arrested 6 Ahmadis and charged over 25 individuals for holding Friday prayers in their mosque. The facilities was also sealed by the police. Also, in Murad Bahawalnagar, on 8th of March, the authorities demolished the minarets of Ahmadiyya Mosque under pressure from the aggressive mob. And this is from Tehreek-e-Labbaik, TLP Pakistan activists. And also Faisalabad, there's another city. On 13th of March, I'm just telling you this last recent 2 weeks what is happening in this country. It is non-stop violation against the peace-loving people. Around 200 people mob attacked the Ahmadi mosque and the Fajr prayer in the morning, early in the morning prayer, and they demolished our mosque. So there are multiple locations I can mention. You see, I have a lot of stuff that I can mention. What we need, our demand is repeal all laws discriminate against Ahmadi Muslims, including laws that the right to freedom of religion or belief and opinion and expression offline, online, and whatever ordinance with the international human rights standards. In particular, repeal all anti-blasphemy laws and also ensure the state's domestic laws, policies, and practices comply with the international human rights convenient, in particular Article 2, 18, 19, and 26 of ICCPR. These are our recommendations, and I thank you for giving me this opportunity and time.
Thank you so much. I think my mic is gone, but thank you so much, sir. I hope all of you can hear me despite this technical glitch. Oh, fine. Thank you so much, sir, and I sincerely wish that we had much longer because your story is interesting and very, very touching, and I think deserves more time. But I think we are on a clock, and thank you again for coming. Thank you again for being a part of this event and for including us in what you've been through and your pathway. Last but not the least, I would like to invite Mr. Erik Sahl from Norway. Erik is a dear friend and is a leader of a political party in Norway. Erik, if you would like to say a few words, please.
Thank you very much, and thank you. Is this on? Thank you very much. We're on technical salt. Thank you to United Villages for hosting this very important event, and for Mr. Vashanoy, the president of Local Cities, that invited me to come. A few weeks ago we were in Brussels on the same topic, but on a specific item, namely Bangladesh, which is like a microcosmos of the bigger picture that we're discussing here today. I want to start out with saying I'm proud to be European here today. I'm very thankful for the history of thinkers like John Locke. Europe came out of a totalitarian Christian environment, but we found freedom and liberty through reformation of our own thinking, which came through Enlightenment thinkers like John Locke, like William Wilberforce, that created a continent where people are seeking to find freedom and liberty. And I want to use my life to make sure that it continue that way for the next generations to come. Freedom is given by God, but taken away by man. Liberty is a birthright, but not a natural state. We cannot be complacent to subjugation of human rights, either by states or by ideologies. Part of my identity is growing up in Bangladesh. It was my first country, my first love, my first language. Bangladesh was born in fire, and it was born to be a secular socialist country with a vision for freedom and liberty and economic development. Ideologies has hijacked that vision of the father of the nation, and a country that was born with a high number of minorities is today diminished into a few numbers. Since the end of the First World War, the Indo-Mediterranean area has dramatically changed. 75 years ago, 850,000 Jews were ethnically cleansed out of the area. In a few decades, the Christian Assyrian population has gone from millions in Iraq to hundreds of thousands. Yesterday, I got a message from friends in Syria, Christian friends, who are desperate. From October 7 to Boko Haram, from ISIS to Damascus today, the ideologies are the same. And we need to unite to fight this evil. I was in Iraq meeting the Yazidi communities. We have countless numbers of people that are suffering. I stood by some Pakistani friends, a young woman that was on a death row on blasphemy charges, total bogus blasphemy charges. Born in radical Islam, are fostered laws that are designed to discriminate at will, like my former speaker and colleague here shared with you. And we as a European continent have to set a stop on this. I'm sure that Mr. Rehman, with my side, is very in pair with me when we say no to radical Islam in Europe. I have friends, Kurdish friends, Muslim friends in my country, Norway, Oslo. They ask me, why do you tolerate this hate in Europe? We came as refugees from radical ideology that is catching up with us. Whether it is in Bangladesh, in Syria today, or Hamas, or Boko Haram, we face a common enemy. And it's not about the color of the skin. And it's not about where you were born. But it's about the freedom for our children and our grandchildren. We cannot accept discriminatory practices of women creeping into European societies, because we do not dare challenge the one bringing it, either because of their religion or the color of their skin. If some of these practices that is happening today were brought into Europe by white people, it would have been outlawed. Simple as that. Today, Afghanistan is turning into, I don't think even we can call it the Middle Ages. Afghanistan has turned into a horror place where the most dangerous thing to be is a woman. We have had feminism sweeping through our Western world, giving women, righteously so, freedom of opportunity and life. But where are the feminists speaking out against what's happening in Afghanistan? My own country is willing to open an embassy of Taliban in Oslo, but they will arrest the prime minister of a democratic country fighting for its existence. If Europe doesn't get our priorities straight, if we don't get our values back, we will end up as the countries that we are discussing today, that we want to help, to bring into freedom for everybody. I thank you for hosting this event, and I encourage all of you that are here, do not become complacent. We must never stop hearing the cries of the women in Afghanistan. We must never close our ears to the blasphemy presence of Pakistan. We must never turn off our eyes when we see Alawites and Christians massacred as we speak. Villages are taken over each by each. And we must be willing to fight discrimination and subjugation in our own continent. I hope this forum in the future will take these challenges seriously, and that we will unite in a common humanity, regardless of religion or the color of the skin, for the freedom of women, children, and the right to believe whatever you want to believe, without being killed, without having to cover your face, without being ordered what to do by totalitarian forces. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Eric, and I think that was a very poignant way of closing this discussion today. I open the floor to quick questions and answers. We have exactly 10 minutes, so questions, answers, and observations. Please identify yourselves, as I don't know most of you, so please do give us your name.
Hello. So, thank you to all the panelists for the wonderful discussion. My name is Chidambaram Narayanan. I am in Zug. I'm a citizen of Switzerland. I've been living here for the last 25 years. And I would like to just highlight, just add to some of the names of the oppressed communities that have been taken here. I would like to bring the situation of Hindus in the Indian subcontinent, or as we call the Southeast Asia right now, or South Asia. Recently, with the arrival of the Taliban, Hindus have been wiped out from Afghanistan. There were still a few remaining, now there are none. In Pakistan, it is now below 1%, with persecution of young girls happening every day. Up to 1,000 young girls are kidnapped and converted to Islam every year. And in Bangladesh, the Hindu population has fallen from 22% in 1971 to 8% currently. And with the given violence that everybody has been talking about, the brunt of the violence has been borne by Hindus. And it is bound to go further down. So I would like to say that a slow but sure genocide of Hindus is happening in the Indian subcontinent. And I would like to address the question to the UN and the European Union and also the parliamentarians from Italy present here. What has this been a part of discussion in your approach that a particular community of Hindus has been persecuted to such an extent in the Indian subcontinent? And I would urge the parliamentarians to take this up and discuss currently with Bangladesh government. And I'm sorry, I don't have a question, but I just wanted to.
Okay. I would appreciate questions rather than freestanding discussions, please.
Yeah.
Because we're really short on time, so specific questions, please keep it short.
Thank you.
9 minutes to go, so.
Yeah. My name is Barbara. Thank you all for presenting, and thank you for the opportunity to ask a question. My question is, I think we're all in agreement on what you have spoken here. What are the practical steps that you will take or we can also take? I'm here primarily because of the violence towards Hindus in Bangladesh, but in terms of all that you have spoken here, we are in agreement that it is unacceptable. What are the practical steps you will do and we can all do in order to implement policies or make changes on an individual level or organizational level?
Any of the panelists would like to take that? You want to start, Eric?
Yeah, thank you for the question. Also, just thank you for the comment, which is very, very important. And 2 weeks ago, when we were in Brussels, we had a similar event, and it was specially designed on the situation of the Hindus in Bangladesh, which I'm very familiar with. And you are totally right. And I think we have to get off this idea that everybody is equally bad. If we don't address the perpetrators, the ideological perpetrator of the general problem, it will never be solved, and we will speak with the nice voices and feel sorry for everybody for the rest of eternity. In Bangladesh, in Pakistan, in all of these countries, it's radical Islam that is eradicating everybody else. And until we accept that fact, we're never going to change it. And I think that the voice of India is really, really important in the world today. So my stand is, whenever I meet an Indian guy, I tell him, get some self-confidence up, we need your voice. And I think a lot of Muslims agree with us. I have vast number of Muslim friends that don't want this radical idea, but they are caught in the middle, and we need to carry our voice. And to your question, I think we need to get back to the idea of grassroots movement. You know, we need to get back to away from this EU super state idea, which is dismantling ordinary people's ability to speak. I mean, how can Berlin change into what it has changed into? How can we see terrorism in the streets of Europe? How can we see white girls not being safe anymore in a lot of countries? Why? Because we let the big people decide. So we need to come back to our roots, by the people and for the people, and use every means necessary to raise our voices. I believe to go back in local communities in Frankfurt, street by street, declare it safe for everybody, and take our lives back. But this is just part of it. But we need in Europe a massive grassroots movement of ordinary people that say, enough, we take our destiny in our hands again. The whole concept of democracy is not being governed by the top. It's not by the elites telling us what to do. It's the people telling our leaders what to do. And there's such a huge gap between the reality of ordinary people living their lives and the elites of Europe that is so disconnected from what's going on the general street in Frankfurt. And we need to change this. It's a massive job we have. So have some fun on the way, but never give up.
Thank you so much, Eric. I think we are at the end of our time because it's 16:55, and we have one more question, but please be extremely brief because I have to conclude actually, and he has to give the vote of thanks. So it needs to be 30 seconds.
Thank you so much.
And a question.
Yeah, my name is Krishna Prasad. I'm here to represent a humanitarian that is serving the world. His name is Mohanji, called Mohanji Foundation. And I'm here to ask, how can education support awareness and tolerance in the society? Because it is education which is creating human beings. So how an organization as UN or the village, right, United Village, can support such initiatives?
It was the organizer, so I'll let Elisa answer that and then we conclude.
Okay. Can you please repeat your question?
So, the foundation of human evolution is through education and understanding the culture. So it is important that people should get more awareness about the aspects of interfaith and understanding the faith, which is missing in curriculum or education. So how can an organization or various organizations can support such initiatives across the world so that we can minimize the harmful effects?
I'm a representative of United Villages, but I'm a master's student in international humanitarian action. So I think like the answer is more like we should be able to listen to youth more and see also their perspective and see how they were educated like in school. And until like our organizations, and the UN itself, that it's still like super committed since almost like 10 years to include the youth voice in what we expect like in the world. And so I think that it should start by us. Like I was sitting yesterday at the table with ex-diplomats, and it was probably the first time that someone was listening to me like really carefully. And I think that until we don't put like these people on the like background, like on the top of the discussion, you will never like succeed to change the mind of our politicians. So I don't know if it was enough my answer.
So, close statement. Thank you.
I would request Mr. Gistelli to give a quick vote of thanks. So we are exactly at.
Io sarò brevissimo. Volevo fare un ringraziamento a tutti i nostri relatori, sia internazionali che soprattutto nazionali, che sono venuti dal Parlamento italiano. Poi volevo fare un ringraziamento particolare a VAS per aver organizzato così ottimamente questa conferenza così importante, e ringrazio in finale l'ONU che ci ha messo a disposizione queste meravigliose sale per temi così internazionali e di rilievo e molto molto importanti. Grazie di tutto. Grazie, e naturalmente grazie a tutto il pubblico.
Professor Gistelli, first of all, thanks all of you for coming and participating today. Thanks all our speakers, specifically all the parliamentarians from Italy, from Germany, from Norway, who've spent their precious time to come here and discuss this, and above all, the UN for allowing us to host this on the sidelines of the HRC. So thank you again for coming. I think I've been punctual. I am ending this 2 minutes before our scheduled time. So thank you again, and yes, that's good.